What's happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Hear the Spear, presented to you by NoleGameday.com. We're here live on a wonderful, fantastic Thursday evening, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Not necessarily any kind of hot, big things that have happened to Florida State football or recruiting or transfers or anything, but we've got some big questions that were asked from some of the communities, some of the listeners and followers about Florida State, the transfers that they brought in, maybe some people to keep an eye out for, some under the radar newcomers that are coming onto this team. Also, too, how is Florida State going to start their season against Alabama and also to SMU? We're going to preview a little bit of that as well, like, along with two of some other things. We're going to look at the roster from last year to this year, which roster is better between 2025 and 2026, along with two. VZ put out a tweet earlier this morning and was able to grab a ton of questions with basketball, as well as that team right now is starting to find some stride, starting to build some momentum in a strong way under Luke Laux in his first season with the Noles. So we've got a handful of things to go through this evening. With me is Dustin Lewis, our editor-in-chief at NoleGameday.com. And over there on the other side is our lead basketball writer, Austin VZ. Gentlemen, it's February 19th. We are in, like I said it last week, but man, it's so dry. There's nothing happening at all. But shout out to the Nole Game Day community for throwing us a lot of questions and topics that have been on their mind this offseason.
It's good to be back. Yeah, a little slow as we start to prepare for spring football. You know, have had some newcomer interviews here over the last couple of weeks, and those are going to continue. But hey, at least on the basketball side, I mean, Florida State has really picked it up, winning 6 out of 8, and obviously making a really big comeback the other night in the Tuck.
Yeah, that game was wild. Especially, I mean, coming off the big upset win at Virginia Tech, where they just absolutely smoked Virginia Tech in the second half, and then come out flat against Boston College, and still another crazy second half to beat Boston College. It's been an eventful week for Florida State basketball, that's for sure. And as you said, won 6 of the last 8, 5 of the last 6, and they'll have an interesting test on Saturday when they travel to face Clemson, who was one of the best teams in the ACC all year, but they've lost 3 straight. So.
Hey, I know we got a lot of basketball to talk about. So if you've been enjoying Florida State and what Luke Laux has been able to do so far, stay tuned for this episode. But before we get started, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. Hit the subscribe button too if you're new here. This show doesn't stop. We go at least once a week here. So hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. You get notified every time we do get live. So let's start off with, probably one of the biggest questions we had. I had some last week that I saved over, including this week too, and it's kind of reoccurring here. And a lot of the fans, listeners want to know which newcomer should we be keeping a close eye on? Maybe one that's under the radar specifically. This one's coming from Eric on X, asking what transfer that's gone under the radar might make the biggest impact this upcoming season in 2026. Gentlemen, I mean, Dustin, you and I were talking before we went live, and we were talking in the production meeting, and we were looking through that list, and I think it changes really quickly outside of, your top 3 guys, top 2 guys even. I was looking at Trey Wisener as probably someone that I would say is a name that everybody likely knows. I know at the transfer market and, even high school level, it's hard to get all these new names down. Definitely when they move on so quickly, even sometimes after a year, it's hard to keep up with the roster nowadays. So I feel for the fan base, but Trey Wisener, big transfer that they brought in from Texas, a guy that was highly productive there. So he's at a different tier there. And I also put probably Chris Jones up there, your Southern Miss linebacker transfer that a lot of us on here are really high on, that is going to make an immediate impact this upcoming season. But there might be some under the radar guys. I think outside of those two, there might be some that maybe fans, don't know of as much, or, might not be looking at. What to you guys, which names probably stand out to you at this moment coming through the transfer portal?
Yeah, it's tough. If we're talking about under the radar, overlooked guys, maybe, someone that pops out to me is Illinois State defensive back transfer. And geez, I'm over here blanking right now. CJ Richard Jr. I don't know how that just happened to me.
See, look, it just happened to you. See, it happens, man.
That's bad. Hard to keep up. But coming into Florida State as a safety, was very productive in his second season at Illinois State as they made a run to the national championship. Ultimately, ended up coming up short of that title by a point. But Richard Jr., a lot of effort, a lot of energy. He's very physical. It's going to be interesting to see how he makes that transition. Obviously, coming up from the FCS to the Power Four, so I mean, going to be playing higher tier competition each week, obviously. But I have confidence that he's a guy, and he's obviously already here in the program, going through the offseason tour of duty. I think he's someone that will ultimately become a starter for Florida State at one of those safety spots.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick in that same room and go Mekhi Jones coming over from Duke.
Yeah.
Guy who showed a lot of flashes in his freshman year there in Durham. He's got the athleticism, got the size. At the very worst, he's gonna be great depth and great special teams. But I think that battle between him and Richard for who's starting next to Ashton Barker back there is gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have Jones on there too. And we're all on the same page here. Jones could be someone that could come in immediately, make an impact. If you think about it, I mean, they lost a lot of safeties. Shaheem Brown's gone, Edwin Joseph's gone to the transfer portal. Earl Little Jr.'s off to Ohio State with the Buckeyes there. Like, that room thinned up really, really quickly. So there's just someone that would bring an immediate impact here.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw him play a pretty big role for Duke as a true freshman, and he really got better as the season progressed. I think he was playing his best football by the end of the year, and obviously Duke making that run to their first ACC championship in program history. So those are two really quality additions. When, like you said, Logan, Florida State lost a lot of talent and a lot of bodies in general in that safety room.
What about Xavier Chaplin, the tackle coming in?
Can we
Transfer a lot
say
of
he's
experience
underrated?
Top
He's
10 offensive tackle in the portal.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
If
know
we can
he's
classify that.
I know. I trust me. I like. I mean, Dustin, where we were being to be fully transparent, man. It's like, compared to years past under Norvell in these transfer portal classes, there has been different tiers overall from year to year to year. This one right here is not the most enticing. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, yeah, I'll be honest with you. It's not. There's not a whole ton out of there. And even if you looked at Trey Wisner, yes, that's a big name. That's a good pickup to bring in through the portal. A lot of experience there, productivity. Yes, absolutely. But you already felt kind of confident in what you had in that running back room. Of course, you probably wanted to add in some more experience in there. Even though Samuel Singleton has been around with this program for quite a while, and he's got a lot of talent. Of course, Usman Kromah played a good amount last year, but was just a true freshman. But, it's kind of hard to, go down this route and find someone that's, under the radar, because there's not really a whole ton of names that really stand out to you. Be like, oh, wow, watch out for this guy type of deal. And that's just, I don't know if that's just me or not, guys.
No, I mean, I agree with you, but there are some guys coming in who I think have interesting potential, maybe. So, like, instead of maybe talking about Xavier Chaplin, I would think more along the lines of, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, but Shimdia Weewu coming over from another guy moving up from the FCS level to Power 4 from Stephen F. Austin, really was just a full-time starter this past season for the very first time. And I mean, he brings some really interesting capabilities, massive body, seems like a pretty good athlete, very strong. So if he can get over to Florida State and develop under Herb Hand, which, we saw how Herb Hand helped flip that offensive line last year, if he can help him continue to progress in the right direction, depending on how some of these other guys acclimate to Florida State, some of these other transfers along that offensive line, Weewu could work his way into that starting lineup.
He's got a crazy wingspan too. Like, you don't really see offensive linemen with that kind of wingspan offense. So it's going to be interesting to see how Herb Hand develops him. Because I don't know if he's going to be ready for ACC level competition this year, but still going to have some years of eligibility left after that, and could absolutely develop into the piece they need.
What about the punter from down under?
Part 2.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. We can't sleep on Daniel Hughes. Can't sleep on him. I mean,
there's going to be a punting competition, right?
Yeah,
because they got the guy from UNLV as well, Carter Jula.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So we got a battle.
And Adam Shire coming over from UNLV, obviously. So might have a little pun off on our hands.
Okay. All right. I like that. Gabe Panikowski came through in the transfer portal. I mean, there's a lot to look at in the special teams, man. We're talking special teams here. It doesn't get any more exciting than this right here. But yeah, I
Two
mean,
punters, two kickers, a long snapper.
yeah, I think too, which will be a good conversation. We probably do this next week too, and I'll add it to the list. Is maybe second year guys, because I think Florida State really hit well in that recruiting class. Moving from last year to this upcoming season, these second year guys are going to make a really big impact. And I think that list will be a lot longer. So maybe we add that to the docket next week. Now, there was another question on here, and this is from our NoleGameday Discord. And this is asking, can FSU survive the September gauntlet? So outside of New Mexico State, Central Arkansas, you do have SMU and Alabama. You have a bye week before Alabama. And then before that, though, you are going to face SMU. That's going to be at home in Doak, which is going to be a massive test to see where Florida State is as a team. But you got to hope, of course, that season begins 1-0. Will Florida State be able? Where are we thinking here? Is this where you're happy? And I'm just strictly looking at SMU and Alabama. You're 1-1 there, or does there become a nightmare sort of scenario, certainly for Mike Norvell, where you go 0-2 against those two teams? And well, you're 2-2, but once again, it feels a lot like how 2025 began for you.
Well, I mean, it's certainly possible for Florida State to lose both of those games. Obviously, going on the road to Alabama, it's not going to be the first game of the season like it was last year. So both teams are going to have more film on one another and more knowledge of how each other's going to run their respective offense and defense. And then SMU, I mean, they've proved themselves as a capable contender in the ACC since arriving in the conference a couple of years ago. We talked about them just a few weeks ago, and Kevin Jennings, one of the more experienced quarterbacks in the ACC, very capable as a dual threat. Randy Pittman Jr. going to be over there, so I'm sure he's going to have some extra juice making the return to Tallahassee as an opponent. That'll be an interesting one. But those are two good football teams, and obviously Alabama expected to probably be in the top 25 once again. I think SMU could compete for a top 25 spot as well. So Florida State, they're going to need to be ready to go out of the gate.
Yeah, and it's not like you're going to be able to catch Alabama off guard this year like you were this year. Plus, you don't have the Gus Malzahn going against Alabama factor because he just always seems to have that package ready for them.
That's where all the energy went, man. That was it. Everything was into that game.
Yeah, so I don't exactly have much confidence, especially with how much Alabama's embarrassed coming out of that game. It's still a talking point. You guys shouldn't have been in the playoffs because you lost to Florida State. You have to think they're going to be very, very ready for that game. And I wouldn't be surprised if it gets kind of ugly kind of quick. The SMU game, at least that one's at home. But, as Dustin mentioned, Kevin Jennings is still Kevin Jennings. He's been a really productive, really good quarterback for the Mustangs the last few years. He's gonna be ready to go. And as long as you have a good quarterback, everything else can usually fall into place.
Yeah, it's the SMU game is going to be just gigantic. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, at that point too, where Ashton Daniels, you got a little bit of a warm-up game there, but at least you're at home. You got to hope that helps you in any way, shape, or form. But just got to see how things go. I mean, it's going to be a lot of balls thrown to Deuce Robinson. I'll go ahead and tell you that right now in that game. And I think, too, it's a really quick turnaround for this defense to try to understand which parts fix best. And I think that's going to be something that we're going to be previewing going into the year because, Tony White, there's a lot of moving parts that happened during this offseason, including staff changes as well. And a lot of these new staff, which we'll talk about here in just a second, but there's a lot of staff changes and who they feel like fits best. And, too, you're relying on a lot of those youngsters, too, on that defensive line to step up and take a big stride as well. And that's going to be big for going against a guy like you just said, Dustin, with Jennings. That is a talented player, can keep SMU in games, and very well experienced, too. So, it's going to be a battle. It's a good question, but it is going to be a battle to begin off this season, man. I mean, imagine if Brett, the magic happens here. He says 2-2 in September at best, but hoping for a 2022 style season. Finished 10-3 with a bowl win. If that happens,
very optimistic.
If that happens, I'll spray paint my hair garnet and gold and keep it for a month.
Oh, that's see, now we need it. Like,
that's all football season for me too. That would be can I do it after the season? No, I do have a job to do here in Tampa. I don't know if I can really have garnet and gold hair, but let me do it during the off season. If that happens, I promise right here, right now, February 19th, I will spray paint or whatever I got to do to make my hair garnet and gold. But let's go on to our next question here. And this is another good one. Interested to get y'all's take on it. This is coming from our NoleGameday Discord. Throat rip. I don't necessarily know what that means. I don't know if I want to know what that means. Our Discord's pretty interesting and scary place sometimes. But he asks, is this staff better than last year's staff? Is that bad? Is what I say? People are saying in the chat that I just got clipped.
Yeah.
But is that like a blank joke? I can't say it on here because I'd like to keep our awesome sponsorship with our friends over at Sleeper. But I probably just got clipped. Not good, y'all. Not good. RIP. Maybe I won't have to do my spray painting on my head. But here we go. What do y'all think? New staff, old staff, which one is better? Here's some notable losses. John Papuch is gone. Gus Malzahn obviously gone. David Johnson, your former running backs coach. Tony Tokar's quarterbacks. And then Patrick Surtain. And you had a handful of new additions as well during the offseason. Where are you guys at? New staff, old staff, which one is better in 2026?
I think it's about a wash. I mean, honestly, probably a little step back from an offensive perspective when Norvell is now back as your play caller and Malzahn moving on to retirement. Jury is still out on the quarterback coach position. Obviously, got to see how Austin Tucker does and his first job as an on-field coach at the FBS level. Don't really know how it's going to go on the field just yet since Florida State hasn't had a practice or anything. But as far as the recruiting trail, casting a wide net in this 2027 class, recently had the number 2 quarterback schedule an official visit to Tallahassee. So we'll see how that goes this summer. Running backs coach, I think you can make an argument either way just because David Johnson is more experienced. But at the same time, I think Cam Martin ultimately will become a better recruiter just because of the energy he brings to the trail. And like I said, on field, he's produced a 1,000-yard rusher in 4 straight years. We'll see if he's able to do it in Tallahassee. Got the same tight ends coach, got the same offensive line coach, got the same wide receivers coach. Defensively, I guess defensive line is quote unquote an upgrade since you add a second position coach alongside there. You now have a pass rush specialist. We'll see how that goes, just because I don't think Florida State did enough in that room as far as adding talent through the high school ranks or transfer portal. Florida State had to move on from John Papuchis. So Ernie Sims upgrade, in my opinion. We'll see how it ultimately unfolds. And then defensive backfield with Surtain Sr. being fired and bringing in Blue Adams. I don't know how I feel about that one. I think Surtain Sr. probably would be considered better than Blue Adams.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like just apples to apples, it's probably a wash. But and probably most people's eyes, it's a net negative because Norvell is back calling plays. And the last time we saw that, the team went 2-10. So it just doesn't inspire a lot of optimism when, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think Cam Martin being the running backs coach, there's that familiarity there already with Herb Hand and with Tim Harris. So that'll help at least a little bit. And he's gotten some great productivity out of his running backs in the past. And I agree. Papuchis had to go. Like, you're not going to see me celebrating enough that Papuchis is gone and they found, FSU legend to fill that role. But again, with Norvell calling plays, it's hard to be optimistic.
Yeah, that's one I'm keeping a close eye on is Ernie Sims, and he's been with this program for quite a while now, but now he steps into that role and as being a coach on field and taking that. I'm interested to see how that linebacker room looks, which personnel he ends up going with as well too. But this is going to be a massive, massive opportunity for Ernie Sims, taking on this opportunity and getting that opportunity again, where it took a little while to become now a linebackers coach again at the collegiate level. And then also too, I think one that I really like is Nick Williams coming in, the edge coach. And not only that, I think more of it might be off the field because of his recruiting talents that he can do, and those relationships are strong. So that's not going to hit you till maybe another year or two if things go well for Mike Norvell, of course. But I'm really intrigued to see what he's able to do with that pass rush, and I'm really glad that they specifically went after and found help there off the edge of someone to actually coach that unit instead of you just having to coach the entire defensive line. I think that was an important hire, and I'm really interested to see if we see some kind of upgrade there off the edge, because last year was atrocious and you relied on a lot of the younger players to come in, and some of those being true freshmen to take that kind of role on. But I like the Nick Williams one. I'm really curious about Ernie Sims and how that goes. Blue Adams, no, kind of just shrugging. We'll see. Cam Martin really high on, but like the Trey Wisner thing is interesting. And now that Gus Malzahn is gone, I do think we do see where Mike sticks to that one, maybe 2 running backs a game type deal. Whereas if Gus Malzahn was here, I think you'd see another revolving door and you'd see as many running backs used possible, because that's what Gus Malzahn loved doing. But Cam Martin came from coaching, 1,000-yard backs every year.
Yeah, I get that, but you've got 3 really talented, really good backs between Wisner, Singleton, and Chroma. Like, those guys all need touches.
I know. That's where it's going to get interesting. Trust me. I agree. That's like, I'm trying to wonder, the thought process there. And it's not that you can't do this, like you can't, but it's more of sometimes the strategy end game from Gus, and even going back to Mike, like, when a guy's hot, man, don't take him off the field. Definitely during a game too. At some point, if things are going well on the ground, don't take that away from a guy, because you're really finding stride there. And I think a lot of us too want to see more of Chroma and see what he's got in the chamber going into year 2 with another. Hopefully we'll see this whole new offensive line, but maybe some security there, that some blocking can be done well on the inside. And we all feel really highly on Samuel Singleton. So it's going to be interesting, but I don't think, just going back to the question, is it better, worse? I think I'm pretty stagnant. That's the best I can really go, I guess, until I know it's easy way to just get out of this question, but it's really just need to see what happens on the field in this day and age, man, with how many new players are coming in, and definitely with new coaching staff changes these last 2 years for Mike. Like, we just need to see it on the field, man. And, we don't get to really see things at spring, and there's no media access and such. So we don't really kind of have much takeaways until we get to literally week 1 or week 0 this year. When that Alabama game happened, that stunned everybody. So we'll see. That's where we're at.
And when they come out and throw 10 wide receiver screens in the first game, we're going to be beating our heads against the wall saying, why did we get another year of this?
Hey, do you think we see Mekhi Danzy's sweeps anymore? You think they gotta come back? Right?
Yeah. They
at
the very least, if the first play of the game isn't at least a fake jet sweep for like a play action or something, like
play action into deep Deuce Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's a good question to ask. We go through one more of these, then we got to get through some basketball ones here. We already talked about some roster stuff. This is a good one here. So this is a long one. This is from Tony Collins on our NoleGameday Discord asking, can we do a segment on how Mike Norvell has some type of paralysis by analysis when the more talent he has on the offense, the less likely he is to create a sufficient offense? It's like he overthinks his plays and he tries to do too much. I don't know if it's the Libra curse, as my brother says, but I'm fearful that he will not unlock Danzy like how Gus Malzahn was able to. And I don't know if Deuce will be as open, because I don't know if the offense can run the ball. Second question is, will it be Norvell or Gus Malzahn's playbook? So kind of a little mix of what we were talking about there, a tiny bit, a little appetizer for it. But obviously, he's certainly talking about 2024. that offense collapsing there, the play calling looking atrocious. There was at least a good amount of talent out there. We did find out, though, through that transfer portal class, it wasn't the greatest. Certainly wasn't as top tier as you had in 2023, let's be honest there. And there were even times in 2023 where there were some questionable things from Mike Norvell, but Jordan Travis, Trey Benson, that entire offense, a lot of those skill players saved you a lot, specifically Jay Trav and Trey Benson. But you go over to 2024, transfer portal class was not great and things did not go well, but it was also too due to Mike Norvell, and that play calling just felt extremely stagnant on a week-to-week, play-to-play situation.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough to say that this season doesn't kind of emulate what you had going into 2024. It feels like a lot of boom or bust, and you've got a good amount of talent returning at wide receiver. I like what Florida State has at running back, but you've got to replace all 5 of your starters along the offensive line. There are some major questions about that tight end room. Obviously you got a guy in Riles, but he wasn't very productive in his time at East Carolina, and now he's moving up to the Power 4 level. Landon Thomas, is he going to be able to take that next step? And outside of that, I mean, everyone else in that tight end room is young and unproven. And then the biggest question is what is going to happen at quarterback, because you've got a guy who hasn't been very consistent in his career, 24 touchdowns to 22 interceptions. And I know there were some promising moments at Auburn last season, but is he going to be able to do that for a full 12-game regular season schedule? I'm just not sure. So it's a really big question to wonder how this Florida State offense is going to perform. I did talk about it, I think, last week or the week before, but as far as the offense, it just seems like a poor decision to alter the scheme too much at this point, because you brought in these transfers, you brought in these high school recruits on the basis that Gus Malzahn was going to be your offensive coordinator and you were going to run the scheme that he implements. And with him retiring, I think Mike Norvell, he's going to switch some things up, but there are still going to be some flavors of that Malzahn offense in there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the last part. I think just with how the retirement happened and when it happened, I just think you recruited to that scheme. I think it's going to be a very similar scheme. That being said, we also know Mike likes his jump balls to the receivers. I mean, how many times were jump balls thrown to Keon and Johnny Wilson in 22 and 23? That's just, it seemed to be the offense half the time for the passing attack. And I don't expect it to go anywhere. Like, Deuce may not be as open as he was, but he's Deuce Robinson. He's 6'6" and has a freakish wingspan. He's open even if he's not open. So there's still going to be those kinds of plays. But like, how many times did we come in here, even in 2023, when they're 12, 13 and 0, going, what is this offense? Like, what are they doing on 3rd and 2s throwing these slot fades? I know we've talked about that a lot the last year or two, but that's just, it can be a frustrating offense. It definitely can be. But I do think they need to keep some of those Malzahn principles. And if you believe both Gus and Mike, there are a lot of the same principles within each other's offenses, a lot of the same terminology. So I do agree. I think a lot of it's going to look the same. We'll have to see. Again, as Dustin mentioned, it's going to depend on who wins the quarterback battle too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Gus, he was after Ashton Daniels. That's who he really wanted to come through. And I'd really be intrigued to see too as well, this, which we expect it to be a quarterback battle, because Mike has not. He's gone through numerous interviews so far. He has not solidified Ashton Daniels as being a starter. And, I think for everybody involved, certainly between the two, Daniels and Sperry at least starting off until, more coming in summer. But
we'll see
those two guys going at it. What do you say?
We'll see.
It should be that way. We did a whole show on that last week. If you guys haven't listened on it, we had a good conversation about a quarterback battle, why there should be one for sure. But I think too, it's going to rely on the running game. If Mike and them, they can't get the running game going, it's wraps. That offense isn't going to do much for you. And that's something that did well for you last year. But it's going to be predicated too on, I think all of us on here have question marks about Landon Thomas. First, just staying fully healthy, but he's going to be able to do it all for you, like Randy Pittman. He's going to have to show us. He's going to have to show that team that he can do all of that. And I think we always hear strides about him in the offseason and such. And this is going well. This is going great in toward duty. This is awesome. But it doesn't matter until we get to the field, man. It don't matter. And certainly, too, once we get to the camps, if he can fully go through those when the pads come on. There's major question marks there for that.
Yep. And he's had injuries now back-to-back years in the summer leading up to fall camp that's limited him ahead of the season. So, I mean, that certainly hasn't helped with his development. And he was always someone that was going to need to grow at the college level. Obviously has those athletic tools and that potential there, but still needs to grow as a football player and I mean, improve his physicality as well as a blocker. Cause I mean, that's an area that he's really struggled. So, I mean, I'd be interested to see if Florida State tries to put a little bit of more weight on him over the next couple months.
Mm-hmm. Outside of Deuce, I mean, not to look at any kind of previews here. Of course, you were able to retain, not that there was any kind of rumors or talk about Mekhi Danzy. He's going through track here. He's got an excellent future there on that end. And then we also got Javon Boggs, who did go through that transfer portal, ended up getting brought back to FSU, was someone that started for you as a true freshman last year. But that's your projected starting unit. There's a lot of love for Tayshawn Gelsey. He's more. I'd be interested to see, because he's a bigger sized wide receiver, listed at 235. I'd be interested to see if they move him on the inside at tight end a little bit here and there. I mean, that size already. I would love to know in the spring. To ask Mike or something to see if maybe they're plan to put on size from him, or what the plan is there. I don't think we're fully finished yet of maybe what that tight end room is going to be, just because you're relying so much on Landon Thomas and that transfer to come in to make up for what you had last year with Marquise and Douglas and Randy Pittman, and then also Landon Thomas. Like, there's just not so appealing at the moment.
Yeah, that's kind of the question. They're with Gelsey and then Chase Lofton as well. It kind of feels like those guys are tweeners a little bit, where they can play either side. We'll see which one they eventually slot into. But I think Lofton and Gelsey, they could both provide depth in that tight end room for sure.
Yeah, I was missing that name there, Lofton, for sure, who had that season-ending injury last year that the staff really, really liked, and they just didn't have room for him in that tight end spot, so they moved him out to wide receiver just to get him some playing time. Brett says the real question for 2026, though, is if we really finally see what it means to respond.
Probably not.
Dude, we almost went a whole podcast without saying it. Thanks, Brett. Thanks a lot, Brett. All right, speaking of respond and this team, what a great transition. Luke Laux and this team have done a really good job of responding from the first half of this season, and now 5-1 in their last 6 games. They are now 13-13 on the record for them. And, VZ, we almost saw them upset Virginia at home. It felt like they were going to win that game. I know we talked about it last week, but they just came back and beat Boston College not too long ago. Seems like things are turning around, and you did go out and ask some questions. You had some good Q&A. Mm-hmm. Throw us some of those questions, man.
Yeah, I mean, first things first, we'll just do a quick recap of the last couple games, because that game Saturday against Virginia Tech was really as impressive as it gets. I mean, you're down, I think they were down 3 at halftime, and then you outscore Virginia Tech, who's a quality team. Like, they were on the bubble of the NCAA tournament. They no longer are, because they lost to Florida State. You outscored them 53-27 in the second half, shot 78% from the field, and held them to 36%. Like, they just whooped them silly. They really did. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was Martin Somerville. He was awesome in that second half, really the best he's played in ACC play, but Chauncey Wiggins also played really well. It's the most efficient offense I think Florida State's had all conference play, really, even going back to that Duke game where they played great offense. They just didn't have a great defense in that game. And then you come out of that game, you have such great momentum. And then the first half against Boston College, just an absolute dud. I mean, granted, Boston College was making everything. Like, they're a bad offense, and they were making everything in that first half. And then Robert McCray just said, hey, we're not losing this game. and had a great second half. Really willed Florida State to that win. Granted, Boston College was putrid from the free throw line, 3 of 13. You do not see that often in college basketball, and Florida State was decent, 27 to 35 from the line. That was the big difference in the game, was that free throw differential. But 5 of the last 6 of the last 8, and now a big game coming up against Clemson on Saturday, who has lost 3 straight. But 2 weeks ago they're a top 15 team, top 20 team. It's going to be a tough battle, and as I know someone asked me, maybe
somewhere in there,
from Spear Nation on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it Twitter. Thoughts on how we fare versus Clemson versus their 3-game losing streak. Clemson's in a do or die situation at this point because they can't really afford many more losses before they knock themselves out of a double bye for the ACC tournament. They're already tied for that 4th seed right now with NC State. For this game, it's really going to come down to, can you keep their bench limited because they have the best bench in the ACC? And does the shooting show up? Because 2 of these last 3 losses against Virginia Tech and Wake Forest, they allowed the highest percentage of threes made that they have all season. So Florida State's got to be making shots in this game, but Florida State's played really, really well on the road here these last few weeks. Between even when you lost at SMU, you gave them everything you could handle, but beat Miami, really gave it to Virginia Tech on the road. They've played great on the road recently, and that's going to have to carry over in this game.
Mm-hmm. That's got to go down to into coaching there for on the road like that. And it's nice to see for Laux to have that kind of authority with the team. I mean, first off, just to see that switch around and that turnaround there. But what's going to be really interesting here is, of course, you're going to start getting a lot of the love from the fan base and everything. That's going to be that next stage. I mean, it's still early, very early, of course, but that next stage is listening to everybody. Wow, look at y'all. Y'all are climbing. Great job. You're doing better. You're improving.
We almost went without saying climbing too.
I know. I know. I just about ripped it out of my tongue off. Climb and friggin' respond. There it was. We did it, guys.
Don't worry about card. You can mark it off.
Yep, add to the bingo card. Let me write that off there. But it's been great. But yeah, keep going with those questions, and we're gonna get to some sleeper picks.
Yeah, absolutely. From J Davis 0853 on X. Why doesn't Alir Malouk get more playing time when we are undersized? He's just very inconsistent. Yeah, yes, he's got the size that you want at center, and Florida State center play has been rough this year, but he's too inconsistent, makes too many mistakes really on both ends of the floor, where he's just not in position where he needs to be. Bad fouls, bad shot selection. I think he has all the potential in the world, but when he's that inconsistent and bogs things down that much, really makes things difficult.
Does he fit into what Luke Laux wants to run? Because since obviously Hamilton recruited him to Florida State,
he definitely can. Because he's got the mobility. Like for a 7-footer, he moves very well. And I think he does have what Laux wants, but the flashes of it just haven't been there. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him transfer out this offseason just because it hasn't really been getting playing time. And at a spot where Florida State desperately needs it. It just wouldn't be surprising for me to see him move out. Again, I think he has all the potential in the world. Laux thinks he has all the potential in the world, but he's just not showing it consistently.
Yeah, he was ranked pretty high, but it seemed like he needed to seriously develop once he got to the college level.
Yeah. And on that same note from Noah Boylan 1 on X, how good can next year's roster be with returning players in the freshman class we have? Florida State's going to be losing a lot of key pieces this offseason. Robert McCray is a senior. Someone else asked me about any chance McCray stays next year. He's out of eligibility unless he somehow gets a waiver for his first season where he played 14 games at Wake. That's really the only way they could explore more eligibility, but I don't think that's going to happen. Kobe McGee, he's out of eligibility. Leger Jones is technically a senior, and he's technically out of eligibility, but I think he could get at least one more year if he wanted, just because he spent a year at JUCO, and his first year at Tarleton State, he didn't really play much. I believe he only played 10 games, so he could technically get a medical red shirt if they applied for it. He could come back if they wanted him to. At the beginning of the season, they said they weren't exploring that. I think they should because he's a good enough player, but we'll just count him out for now. John C. Wiggins, he's a senior, out of eligibility after this year. Alex Steen, senior, out of eligibility after this season. Shah Muhammad, also a senior, who could get more playing time, again, because of the JUCO rulings that we've seen over the last few years. But I don't think Florida State really wants him back. That's 6 guys that we're already saying, hey, probably not coming back. I think Alir Malouk transfers just because he hasn't been seeing playing time. And then I think that same situation kind of goes for AJ Swinton, who, again, really talented player, but wasn't really playing much early in the year. We've seen him play more recently, and his defense has made a huge impact on this turnaround for the last few years. But even if you include him in, the returning guys you have are going to be Cam Miles, whose playing time has disappeared the last few weeks, Maximo Garcia Plata, who is redshirted this year, the freshman from Spain, Jason Lopez, who's technically part of the incoming high school class, but he's been with the team the last few weeks, hasn't played. I don't expect him to play. You'll have Martin Somerville, who has been good at times.
Mm-hmm.
Swinton maybe coming back, and then Tomas Bassan, who's been an insane defender, like really an insane defender. You still need a lot more than that. The freshman class is great with Brandon Bass Jr., Colin Paul, and Marcus Ponder. I expect at least Paul and Ponder to make big impacts on the team next year. And then they're going after Marte Brandon, who just reclassified to 2026 top 100 kid. I think Florida State's got a good shot there. I really do. Another kid out of Florida, and we know Laux wants to really shut down the state of Florida in recruiting. I expect Florida State to be really heavily invested in this. It seems like he's only visiting Auburn and Florida State. And if you look at two programs, Florida State's arguably got the better arrow pointing up right now. Obviously, Auburn just lost. Bruce Pearl stepped down after this year, handed over to his son, and they've been a weird team this year. They're projected to go to the tournament. I don't think they're a tournament quality team. But with those high school additions, you're anywhere between 3, 5, 7, 8, 9 players right now. If you add Brandon, that's 10. I could see one of these freshman guards transferring out, whether it's Plata or Miles. Just you don't need that many young guards. So it's really just going to depend on what they do in the transfer portal. And I think Laux has learned a lesson where you need really high quality transfer portal guys, not just guys that can make impacts. And I expect them to be very aggressive in the portal, getting pretty much starters across the board at every single position. Because even if, Ponder's a beast, but you need someone that can start over him. You need more consistent shooting. You need more consistent size. So really just depends what they do on the transfer portal more than anything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like how quickly the difference in high school football and high school basketball. And I know you got AAU, you've got all these different programs you can go play at and earn experience like Ponder. I mean, I keep on seeing these highlights, Baby Shaq and all that kind of stuff. But like, how quickly does it take for these younger guys to come in and get down playbook from Laux, staff, everything of that nature, and the difference between that and football? Coming from more of a football brain of me, I've always tried to understand basketball because I know it is different because in high school football, you don't have AAU to be able to go and play against some of the best around you and earn a lot more experience. Just wondering how long it would take for some of these guys to get it down.
It's definitely a bigger jump for the guards. That's why you rarely see young guards really making big impact unless they're just that good. Like Darren Peterson is that good. But those are few. Yeah, that's true. But those are few and far between. I think the jump is easier for wings. Like you're seeing with Tomas Bassan, where the offense is a little rough, little raw, but he's there defensively. And I think that's what Florida State's really going to prioritize, at least for these newcomers, because I think Colin Paul can be a really great defender. Brandon Bass Jr. can be an elite shooter from day one. We'll see how much his playing time is. Those kind of attributes carry over no matter what level you're at. It's going to be more about the athleticism and the ball handling. Those are the ones that really take a lot to catch up on. That's why I think one of these younger guards may leave the program. We'll have to see. But if you can get an experienced point guard, like another Robert McRae kind of guy, if you can get a really good center in, because they did not do a good enough job this past offseason, and they get one or two really high quality wings, the team actually could be pretty good next year, I think.
Okay. Well, let's take a quick break real quick. Do you have one more question too, VZ, we can jump into before we wrap things up?
We
can. Okay, let's make some sleeper picks. We got some Olympic picks. I got to go ahead and say it. Let's get VZ back in here. I saw in here, so Sleeper, shout out to our friends over there at Sleeper. They're awesome. They're great. They've been with us almost, it's going to be getting close to a year if they want to keep it going with us. But Sleeper's awesome. You guys can actually make picks on the Olympics. I just saw this, and I actually was watching earlier today. Shout out to the women's USA team beating Canada in overtime. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Such a thriller, too. What a way to win it. Beautiful move. I forget the forget the girl's name, but she made a move on that Canadian defender and bang, beautiful shot. But shout out to them. But I thought we would make a pick, at least one pick or two. Why not? On the game coming up. It's the semifinals between USA men's hockey and Slovakia. I need to go down here and actually make a pick because I do believe one of the Lightning players for Tampa Bay, Jake Gensel is on here, which is actually fire, and just get him for a goal. We got to do it. He's here in Florida. It's Lightning. Why not? Why not? Dustin's shaking his head. No, what are you, a Bruins fan? Have you ever watched a hockey game?
Yeah, I watched that hockey game that one the other week when they played in Raymond James Stadium.
Oh, yeah. That one was awesome, wasn't it? Did it get you hooked?
I mean, I watch hockey from time to time. It's just more of a basketball guy.
Yeah. I mean, for the at least the Olympics, though, it's tough because it's during the day. Like, I had one of my friends, Curtis, he was texting me like, yo, we're going to overtime. I was like, what? I didn't even know that was even happening right now. So I flipped over. I was working and watched the last like 5 minutes of that game, and it was incredible. It was super fun to watch. But so Gensel plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning down here, 2.33. So they're actually kind of expecting him to have a chance here to get one of these goals. They need to get a goal because the semifinals, we got to go to the finals. Because Canada most likely is going to make it, and then USA, Canada. I mean, it'd just be phenomenal if USA can go gold twice in hockey. We own hockey then. That's what matters, Dustin. That's what matters. Y'all want to go to NBA since y'all the experts on that?
Can we see if the FSU Clemson game's on there?
Could try. I did not see if it was.
Might be too early.
Maybe.
Yeah, it probably might be Florida State.
It probably might be.
Yeah, it's like I'm like as close as you can get to just likely not happening. But we have some steals on here though. Gamble appropriately, is that how you say it? Responsibly. So,
yeah.
They're my steals. They're my personal steals. These are my personal steals. What are these? I mean, Wemby, 20.5. Is that a steal? Is that a personal steal?
Who are they playing?
Phoenix.
Let's look at his points.
I think that's a good number. I think
I'd probably take it.
Yeah, 20. More than 20.5 is a good number.
Okay, we'll go more on that. I mean, we're already at 4 times right now.
He's pissed off after that All-Star game.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah. What about
Palos? He's had a weird year.
Nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
Nope, not doing that. Okay.
I wouldn't trust it.
He's either going to get 7 or he's going to get 40. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to.
Yeah, is Scotty Barnes in? Is Scotty Barnes in here anyway? Can we get some Florida State representation somewhere?
That would be great. Where's Scotty? Which Dustin said would be a letdown in the league.
He has been somewhat.
What? Stop it! Stop! Don't dig that hole deeper. I can search Scotty. Let me search Scotty. Scotty Scheffler. Hey, Dustin, give us the update on Scotty Scheffler and golf, please.
Scotty Barnes. Wow.
He's been hitting them balls pretty good.
Yeah. You still don't know if Tiger Woods is going to play in the Masters, do you? Don't have an update for us?
I heard he's not. Apparently he's like unofficially retired.
Well, he said he's going to try.
What? Isn't he competing this week on something? Someone in the chat, their comments will tell us. They'll let us know. All right, we need another one. Someone lock in here. Porzingis is juiced. He's juiced at 11.5.
When did he last play?
Dude, this is his first game.
January 7th.
Warriors.
Yeah. No, less.
All right, we can ride less. I'd be down for less. Yeah, you're our Celtics guy. Wait.
11.5.
He's on the Warriors now.
Never mind.
They're playing the Celtics tonight, though.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't swap a juicer away. Let's get away from Porzingis.
I would almost lean D-Book less than 25.5. Like Devin Booker's a really good player. They don't really need him to score as much as they used to.
He's been on a
He didn't play well against the Mavs last week.
Okay, let's do it less then. Why not? Ride that. Man, we're at a 7.69. I mean, that's nasty. Let's see if I doubt we can use a 50%. No, we can't because we got something that's trimmed in there. Okay, these are our picks. Go USA. Shout out to the Lightning. Gensel, get a goal for us, baby. And there's our other 2 NBA picks in there. Go USA, Dustin. You're not pulling enough for USA, man. If we win that gold, here's the deal, Dustin. If we win that gold medal match, and if it's against Canada, if we win, do you have any kind of USA merch that you can wear? A hat, a shirt, a necklace, or you just wear a red shirt? I guess that'd be like Canada, though. Wear blue. Would you wear blue on the show?
I'm wearing blue. I'm wearing blue right now.
That's we can't tell that. You
this
wear
is
gray
blue
every time. Can you tell that's blue? We want bright blue.
This is actually blue.
No, we want all right, red then. You're wearing red. I can't tell that. Nobody can tell if that looks gray to me. No way.
This is my blue-gray shirt.
My blue-gray shirt.
Will you wear red? Do you have red? Do you even have red?
I think I have a red shirt somewhere.
Okay. Something red that you can wear if USA wins, just to show that you actually love this country. You're just shaking your head slowly. All right, VZ, finish us off with one more question from basketball. What do we have?
Yeah, we're actually going to group it together. From Leon Brunson, what do you think about the current traditions in the Civic Center? Do you believe that the games and band could adopt new traditions as Coach Luke established himself and the culture here? And then on that same vein, again from Spare Nation, do you think Laux and the staff will change seating arrangements / student section for next season? Because I do think those kind of go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of talk last offseason that they were going to move the student section around to try and fill in the seats because the general Tallahassee base isn't the biggest Florida State basketball supporting group, where the students have shown out. And I do expect Laux to – he really already has. I mean, we saw him do the beer giveaway last week
that was awesome
to try and get fans.
It turned out well, man. It was loud on the TV. It was loud, and there wasn't a whole ton of the student fan base showed up. And I'm sure there was a lot of FSU basketball fans too as well. But I mean, it was loud, and by that point in the game too, after a handful of beers, that's what you're gonna get. Good shot to Laux for that.
And I did notice, VZ, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I thought the student section was like only near the opponent bench. Now,
they moved it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
because that's when I was at the Virginia game, I was like, wow, I can't believe people on this side are cheering or booing whenever Virginia is shooting free throws.
Yeah.
Students were on both sides.
Yeah, they've moved it to have students on both sides, which, I kind of agree with. Like I said, there weren't many people sitting behind the baskets anyways. And they've tried to fill in at least behind the baskets a little bit. But I do think they're going to explore more of that whether it's not necessarily courtside, but in those first few rows. Because again, a lot of people just don't show up sometimes. And the students at least do a decent job of doing so. Now, as far as other traditions or anything, we will see. Again, I expect Luke to explore every single option to get more people in the building and get more energetic in there. Because when the Tuck is rocking, it's one of the best atmospheres in college basketball. But it's been a while since we've seen that. My time there, it was packed a lot of nights because we had great teams, and really winning is going to bring the fans more than anything. And I think we're starting to see that turnaround now.
Just seems like Florida State basketball fans they're very fair weather.
They are.
When things are going going good, they're showing up. When they're not, it's very barren in there. It's kind of crazy to see the differences, because my dad has had season tickets now for going on 12 years. So you've seen some highs and then a lot of lows, obviously, too, like with the crowd fluctuating.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's different than, football. That crowd showed up in 2 and 10. They showed up last year, too, as well. They rode. But, a good team, that changes everything. And you got to like what you're seeing from Laux. Like you said, they got a big game coming up against Clemson, a talented team, too, as well. That's at noon
Yeah,
Saturday?
It's noon, and I will be there.
Okay. All right. We're on hand, baby. We're on hand at some point. Shoot, at this keeps going down this road, we're gonna have instant reactions on site at basketball games.
Hey, I will be down for it.
Hell yeah, on the court, VZ on the court. But I think that's going to do it for us, guys. We still have a handful of other questions. We'll bring those over to next week's show as well. And, I got to bet if FSU goes 10-3, I'm dyeing my hair garnet and gold during the offseason next year. And then Dustin is going to wear red if USA Hockey wins gold. Like there's
what a
He's gonna
bet.
wear a color.
What a
all
bet.
you got to do is wear red. That's all you got to do. I'm risking my friggin' hair, man. I'm risking my hair out here.
You made that up yourself though, so like, it's kind of your
did.
fault.
I did. I mean, there's no there's no way they go 10-3. Do they? I gotta look back at this
No
transfer
chance.
list. I got no.
Literally
I
no
gotta
chance.
ask ChatGPT if I made a big mistake. I think Mike Norvell is gonna turn around. I think that's it. Anyways, major risk. D-Lou, go USA, baby. I'm excited. Those are our sleeper picks, too. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this episode on Hear the Spear. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you're still here with us, smack that like button down below. We appreciate it. And then also, too, if you're new or you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. We go live at least once a week, and definitely when there's any kind of breaking news as well. That's going to do it. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's week. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next week on Hear the Spear. We're out. Peace.